Why do we have money but no peace? Hello, my friend of shared destiny. Let us look together at this moment, in the deep of night or the early light of dawn, when the world around you has fallen into silence, but in your mind, the waves of anxiety refuse to sleep. Perhaps you have spent your whole life doing everything right. You worked hard, you accumulated, and you prepared thoroughly for your later years. However, even though what you possess is abundant, a sense of true safety still feels like a luxury. Why does peace not arrive at the same time as plenty? My dear friend, these whispers today do not teach you how to make more money. They are here to answer a deeper question: why even people who have money still don't feel safe? Today, join me in exploring the Buddha's wisdom on true prosperity, the kind of wealth that the storms of life can never reach. Lesson 1. Contentment is the greatest wealth. We begin our journey with the first reminder, which is the foundation for all peace. Contentment is the greatest wealth. In the world out there, we are taught that wealth is measured by numbers, account balances, the number of rooms in a house, or the amount of property we store. But in the Buddha's wisdom, contentment, Santutthi, is not a number, but a feeling. Before talking about figures, I invite you to listen to your own body right now and ask, what would enough feel like in your body? Is it when your shoulders stop being rigid and begin to relax? Is it a deeper, more relieved breath from the bottom of your heart? My dear friend, if your mind does not yet see enough, then even if you owned the entire world, you would still live in the hunger of lack. Consider the image of two neighbors with the same pension and the same house. One is always tossing and turning, fearing inflation and loss. Their mind is always wandering through the risks of the future. The other chooses to smile with a warm cup of tea every morning, enjoying the early sun on the porch and having a deep, dreamless sleep. Which of the two is truly the wealthy one? I once knew a story of a man who spent his whole life working for a vast mansion. By the time he was in his 70s, he finally acquired it. But ironically, because the house was so large and the furnishings so precious, he no longer had time to live in it. He spent most of his energy worrying about cleaning, repairing, and checking the security system at night for fear of theft. He shifted from being a master enjoying his home to being a loyal sentry for his own pile of assets. He was a prisoner of his own success. You see, when we constantly seek to have more, we unintentionally lose the most important capacity, the capacity to rest. Remember this clearly: wealth is not having more. Wealth is finally resting inside what is enough. Lesson 2. Non-attachment protects your peace. We move to the second lesson, a key to protecting the silence of the soul against all fluctuations: non-attachment. My dear friend, there is a paradox we must courageously face. Worry about money usually does not come from lacking money, but from being too attached to stability. At this age, the greatest fear is not poverty, but fearing that what we have will be shaken. We cling to assets like clinging to a lifebuoy, and it is that very tight grip that exhausts us. Imagine the difference between a merchant and a monk traveling on a boat in a storm. The merchant grips his chest of gold tightly. He is sleepless, stressed, and terrified. If the chest falls into the water, he feels as if his own life has drifted away. The chest is not just money. It has become his ego. Meanwhile, the monk might also be holding an alms bowl. He cherishes it, but he is not stuck to it. If a wave sweeps it away, he lets go and continues to swim. The bowl is a tool for him to live, not something that defines who he is. The difference is not who possesses more, but who is possessed by objects. Right now, I invite you to close your eyes and ask a soul-searching question. What am I holding that's holding me? Is it the expectation of an unchanging balance? Is it the need to control your children's future? Financial healing does not require you to give up all material things to become a hermit in the forest. That is not practical. The Buddha's wisdom only invites you to loosen your hand a little. Imagine you are holding a rope. If you pull it very tight, your hands will be pained and bloody. But if you just loosen it slightly, the rope is still there, yet the pain disappears immediately. Own everything like a wise steward. Care for things. Use them. But do not let your soul be chained to them. When your mind is no longer attached, no fluctuation of the outside world can steal the peace within you. Lesson 3. Right livelihood has no retirement age. We come to the third lesson, a word of comfort for those feeling adrift after leaving work. Right livelihood never has a retirement age. My dear friend, one of the most silent pains of old age is the crisis of self-worth. After decades of identifying yourself by titles, achievements, and busyness, when the employee ID is returned, many suddenly find themselves empty. You feel like a gear separated from a machine, fearing you are no longer useful. But in the Buddha's teachings, right livelihood is not merely a job to earn money. It is how you show up and contribute your mindfulness to the world, and that presence never needs to retire. Listen to the story of an old monk gardening in an ancient Zen temple. A young visitor saw the old man moving extremely slowly, meticulously picking up every dry leaf, and asked, "Teacher, why do you do it so slowly? Wouldn't it be more efficient to work fast?" The monk smiled and replied, "I do not garden to complete the work. I garden to be a part of the garden." At this age, your value no longer lies in speed or productivity. Your value lies in the strength of stillness. When you water a tree with full love, when you listen to a grandchild with absolute patience, or simply when you maintain a peaceful state of mind amidst adversity, that is the highest right livelihood. Do not let society deceive you into thinking you only have value when creating material wealth. Understand that your lived wisdom is a form of wealth that only time can create. This world does not lack busy people, but it lacks those who radiate the energy of peace. Your prosperity now does not lie in what you do, but in how you are. You are the most precious gift to your family and the world, simply by keeping your heart mindful and kind. Lesson 4. Generosity creates abundance. We move to the fourth lesson, a miraculous paradox of the flow of prosperity. Giving is the way to become abundant. My dear friend, most of us often tell ourselves, when I have a surplus, I will start to give. But under the Buddha's wisdom, generosity is not the result of abundance, but the cause of it. Why is that? Because financial anxiety actually stems from what I call a scarcity identity. It is the cunning voice in your head always whispering, "You will never have enough. Hold on tight." When you follow that voice, your soul shrinks, and no matter how much money you have in the bank, you are still living in the status of a poor person. Recall the story of the poor old woman's oil lamp in the scriptures. Among thousands of magnificent lamps of kings and nobles, the old woman only had enough money to buy a little dreg oil to light a tiny lamp with absolute devotion. When a great storm came, all the luxurious lamps were blown out, yet only the old woman's lamp remained shining. The secret here is not a supernatural miracle. That lamp did not go out because the intention behind it was so powerful. The old woman did not give because she had extra. She gave to escape the burden of attachment to poverty. Generosity is not measured by the material value you give away, but by the capacity of space you create in your mind. When you are willing to share a meal, a sincere compliment, or a bit of time to listen, you are sending a powerful signal to your own subconscious that I have enough. I have so much that I can share. Engrave this truth into your heart. The moment you give, you step into the identity of someone who has enough. True prosperity is not a warehouse full of locked-away things. Prosperity is a flowing river. When you open your palm to give, you simultaneously create space for new, miraculous things to flow into your life. Lesson 5. Simplicity reveals what truly matters. We come to the 5th lesson, an antidote to the overload of mind and living space, simplicity. My dear friend, stop for a moment and feel the fatigue within you. Have you ever realized that most of our exhaustion is not because we lack something, but because we are spending too much energy maintaining and protecting what we have? The Buddha taught that everything we own will eventually come back to own us. Imagine a man who spent his life accumulating to buy a castle with 10 bedrooms. He thought he would be very happy, but then he realized he spent all day cleaning, repairing, and fearing fire or theft. Despite having 10 bedrooms, he could only sleep in one single bed each night. The other 9 rooms did not serve him. He was becoming a servant to them. He had a big house, but in reality, he no longer had time to live in it. True prosperity does not lie in filling gaps, but in daring to let space be empty. Only when the space is empty can light enter. Only when the mind is empty can peace reside. I invite you to do a small exercise over the next 30 days. Each day, choose one item in your house that you no longer use and allow it to leave. But the secret lies here. When that item leaves your hand, do not just look at the empty space on the shelf. Close your eyes and listen to the sensation inside your body. Ask yourself, does my chest feel a bit more open? Does my heart rate slow down and become smoother? You will be amazed to realize that every time a material object leaves, an invisible burden on your shoulders also vanishes. Simplification is not a sacrifice. It is the process of clearing the lake of the mind so that you can clearly see the pearls of life that have been lying at the bottom all along. Lesson 6. Presence is priceless. We move to the 6th lesson, a reminder of the most precious asset that no bank can manage for you, presence. Do you recognize this painful paradox? We spend our youth working hard to have leisure in old age. However, when those days of leisure arrive, our minds continue to work overtime to worry about the next 10 years. Every minute you spend worrying about money is actually a form of absence from your own life. Our bodies are here, but our souls have been kidnapped by numbers and future scenarios. The Buddha taught that the only real property a human owns is the present moment. Everything else, from real estate to savings books, are just concepts written on paper. Recall the ancient Zen story of the man chased by a fierce tiger to the edge of a cliff. In his desperation, he had to swing onto a vine to escape. Above him was the roaring, hungry tiger. Below was a deep abyss, and two mice were silently gnawing at the very vine he was clinging to. Right in that moment, on the boundary between life and death, he suddenly saw a wild strawberry growing from a crack in the rock. He reached out to pick it, put it in his mouth, and exclaimed, "Oh, how sweet this strawberry is!" My dear friend, that tiger could be inflation, bills, or health risks. The two mice are time silently slipping away. The wisdom of presence does not tell you to deny the truth of those dangers, but it reminds you of an essential thing. Do not be so busy looking at the tiger that you miss the sweetness of the strawberry right in your hand. True prosperity does not lie in the total assets you will have when you depart, but in your ability to truly taste. The sweetness of this morning's tea, the fragrance of the flower by the window, or the warmth in the eyes of a loved one. If you are not present to enjoy your life, then no matter how much you own, you are the poorest person in the world. Before closing this lesson, I invite you to ask yourself sincerely, am I living my life, or mostly thinking about it? Lesson 7. Impermanence. Frees you from financial fear. We stand before the final lesson, the gate of true liberation, impermanence. My dear friend, up until now, we have talked about safety. But let us be honest with each other. In this universe, is anything truly eternal? The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from your assets fluctuating or disappearing. Suffering comes from our demand for permanence. In a world that is inherently changing, we want a number in the bank to stand still. We want health to stand still. We want everything to never change. This very resistance to the natural flow is the source of all insecurity. The key to healing financial fear is a shift in mindset. Stop being the owner and start being a steward. Imagine you are a steward entrusted with caring for a beautiful garden. You water it, prune the branches, and enjoy the fragrance and color of the flowers. But deep down, you know clearly that this garden does not belong to you. You are only there to care for it for a brief period of life. When you view property as something borrowed from the universe instead of mine, your hands will automatically loosen. You still work, still manage finances responsibly, but the possessive ego has disappeared, giving way to equanimity before every arrival and departure. Engrave the declaration of an awakened soul. Nothing was meant to stay, but wisdom was never meant to leave. Money is water. It needs to flow. Only the wisdom and peace you harvest from the process of observing that flow are the assets that truly go with you. I want to end this lesson with an awakening question. Many people often tell themselves, if I knew I only had 6 months left to live, I would stop worrying about money and start living meaningfully. My dear friend, if 6 months from now you could let go of that fear to live fully, then why must you wait until then to start? Impermanence is not a threat. It is a precious reminder that our time is finite, and your peace is too expensive to trade for non-existent worries. Let go of the need to control impermanence, and you will find yourself freer than ever. Hello, my friend of shared destiny. Thus, we have traveled together through a journey to redefine true wealth. I hope you carry this as your most precious luggage. Prosperity does not lie in what you own, but in the very way you hold, the way you let go, and the way you live each day. Do not let money become a cage that imprisons your peace. Let it be a kind tool for you to care for yourself and share with life, but never consider it the only refuge for your soul. The safest refuge always lies in the silence within you. If today's whispers brought your soul a bit of relief, please help me spread this good energy by clicking the subscribe button. And before leaving, I would love to hear your heart. Which truth spoke to you today? Every line of your reflection is a seed of peace sown into this community. May you always be abundant and at ease on the path ahead. Peace in body and mind. Goodbye, and see you again.